It's getting red hot. Take it over the top. Now pose for your mugshot. Sing it like a train, the lights, the sounds, it's all in slow motion. Put the rhyme in the potion and drink it all down. The lights, the sounds, it's all in slow motion. Put the rhyme in the potion and drink it all down. The lights, the sounds, it's all in slow motion. Put the rhyme in the potion and sing it like a train gang. And sing it like a chain gang. And sing it like a chain gang.
LIVE live, Mr. Freelance. You can hear me. Can't see me. You can hear me. This is backwards compatible, and I'll tell you, we're pretty backwards at times, but we are, also pretty compatible. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Freelance? Bueller. 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 Either Maverick Freelance hasn't recognized yet that he is still on mute, or folks, he is AFK. Let's assume that it's the latter and he's not there yet. Welcome to Backwards Compatible. This is a show by Rebel Gaming. Notice I didn't say Komix. Rebel Gaming and Maverick Freelance. This is a place where, old Mav and I can just come and shoot the breeze basically about anything we want. Just have a conversation that's live. And if you guys want to sit back and enjoy and listen to it, you're more than welcome to. We'll cover anything, from games to comics to events in the news to our personal lives, thoughts and opinions. We like to rant on feminists and social justice warriors sometimes. Whatever it may be, I kind of run backwards compatible the way that Maverick runs his personal channel, that the only limit is that there's no limits, and so we're just going to wait for old Mav here to come back and say hello. Let's see. I'm looking to see. We got 2 watching now. That could just very well be me and Maverick. But if you are out there, you can always give us a shout out in the chatter box. You know how it works. Today's topic, and we're not limited to one, but the main topic tonight is RPGs. If you don't know what that means, no, it's not a type of bazooka. What it means is role-playing games. And I don't mean the type that you would see in a video game. I mean tabletop RPGs. You guys, you don't live underneath a rock anymore. It's, it's not shameful to discuss anymore. Things like Dungeons and Dragons is what we're kind of talking about here. Not Dungeons and Dragons in particular, but, that kind of gives you the idea. And so, you guys know that I do this comic called Niobe, and Niobe, the character herself, was created through the course of tabletop RPGs. One game we were playing in particular was called Heroes Unlimited by Palladium. They used to make like Rifts and Robotech and Turtles and stuff like that, and they used the same game system for all their licensed properties. And they had a superhero game, which is cool. It's Dungeons and Dragons, but it's superheroes, set in the modern world. And so that's where Niobe was first created back in, I want to say 1990, you know, when I was like 16 years old. And so that dates back like, fuck, 27, maybe 28 years ago now. It's hard to believe that she's that old because she's so new to everyone else. But to me, she's been around forever. Maverick, are you back yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, good, because I was getting, you know, I was like, how much longer can I just talk to myself for, you know?
Yeah, I was back a minute ago, and then I was listening to you while I was opening up this friggin' one of these folders with game books in it, and while I was getting my YouTube tabs closed, so I listened to you while I did that.
Yeah, well, you know, I figure since we're gaming tomorrow, and I'm kind of excited about it, I want to talk about it a little bit, and I figure you're one of the players, so why not just do a BC on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds like we're gonna do a sex move on.
All right.
Hey man, let's get that bitch and do a BC on her.
No, I was briefly, you know, touching upon the history of Niobe through RPGs, and I was watching a video of yours a little earlier today. I watched several videos of yours today while I was making some notes for tomorrow's game, and one of the ones that I was watching, you were talking about, you know, tomorrow's game, and you were talking about how you got brought into the fold of RPGs. You know, you were saying that back in your small little town there was no game shops, no comic shops, and you happen to have been lucky to fall into a group of a couple of older guys that were gaming. You know, my history with role-playing games is pretty much the same. I mean, we had, you know, a comic shop here in Moncton at the time. Like, there was like one comic shop at the time. It was called Wilkie's Wonderful World of Comics and Games. But you know, I wasn't gaming at that point. I knew what Dungeons and Dragons was to a certain degree because I did buy the old red box set, like basic D&D, you know, at like a fucking used bookstore for like $5 or something. So it looked cool, you know, because as a kid, right, I used to watch the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Yeah.
And so that's how I knew about Dungeons and Dragons. So when I saw this like box set, I thought it was like a game, you know what I mean? Like a board game when I first got it, right, as a kid.
Yeah.
I bought it, you know, because it was Dungeons and Dragons. I was expecting to get the cartoon out of it, right? And so I got these 2 red books, and I found out it was more like the closest way I could describe an RPG to someone who's never played one before is it's much like one of those choose your own adventure books.
Yeah.
You know, you get a scenario, and then in the course of the book asks you, you know, do you want to turn left or do you want to turn right? If you turn right, go to page 21. If you turn left, go to page 22, something like that, right? Like the book being the GM and the player being the reader, you know? And so I didn't really know how to play it. I had it, you know, and keep in mind, I'm probably like 10 or 11 years old, right? And then when I was about 14, kind of like you, there's my buddy was hanging out with these older cats, and, you know, like you said, they're probably about 3 or 4 years older, and they had a weekly Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition game going on, and they were actually playing first, and they transversed into second right when second came out, and that's when I jumped on board. So my buddy's like, you know, Larry, yeah, you want to, you like fantasy and all this stuff. Why don't you come and play Dungeons and Dragons with us? And like, okay. So I went over to this guy's house, and I was like, you know, a group of like 5 nerdy types, you know, a little bit older. I was, of course, a little intimidated by them. Not that they were scary people. It's just that, you know, I didn't know who in the fuck they were. The only guy I knew was my boy Corey, and I have to learn this game that I never played before in my life. And these guys were, at that point, you know, seasoned vets. The GM, his name was Tony. He was a hell of a writer, and he was, you know, writing his own novel at the time. I don't know if he ever finished it, but, you know, he had inspirations of being a novelist, and he was hardcore serious about it too. And he would use the gaming sessions as inspiration for his fantasy novel.
Yeah.
And my first character ever, Maverick, and I want to throw this question to you next, but, you know, if you can remember the first character you ever made for a role-playing game. Mine was a paladin, right? Because I always liked I was always big into knights in shining armor as a kid, and Excalibur and all that. So when I saw the paladin class, I had to make the paladin. And his name was Dalvin the paladin, right? Dalavan. Just switched out the P for a D, but I thought the name was cool, Dalavan. And so Dalavan was born. That was my first ever, real character in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I probably played him for a few months until Tony killed me off with the dragon. But how about you, Maverick? Do you remember, the first character you ever made? What was it, man?
Well, the first character I made was, I used it for different, I used the same character. I used it for Spelljammer and for Dark Sun. And his name was Igasu, which is just Usagi backwards. That's because I love Usagi Yojimbo even back then. And he was a wizard. And yeah, the best thing I remember about him was just a super hilarious. It's hard to explain gaming stuff to people that don't game, but you'll know what I mean when I say, like, it was just one of those sessions that was memorable, and just because of just a small, tiny event that can make a whole session like memorable and awesome. And it was just a situation where we were kind of getting fucked, and we were in some mansion of some evil dude, and instead of us all dying, I was like, I'll use my grease spell to slip there. It was like his bodyguard or a guard in the mansion or something, fucking knock his ass down the stairs. And then if it worked, I was going to use, I think it was a knock spell or something, basically to make the other guy that was coming after us think that we were in a different direction. And it saved the day. It was my first game, my first game, my first character, and the first actual encounter that I had with that character that wasn't just straight up battle. And it was awesome because my whole point of being a wizard is, like, I want to use the spells in clever ways, like making distraction sounds and greasing people that when they can't see it, instead of like just straight battle.
Yeah, it's straight hack and slash. Because when we talk about games, we can talk about all sorts of different type of player types and game master styles. Some people like just sheer dice rolling. They just like the combat, right? Fight.
Yeah.
For me personally, I like story. I like plot. I like character interaction. You've seen like a taste of that when I was doing the Star Wars game.
Yeah, I like that too. I like a good combination of both. But here the thing is I can play a game that has a good story and have no combat, but I cannot play a game with good combat and no story. Right? I prefer both, but I can play a game that has a good story but no combat at all. That wouldn't bother me and I'd have fun. But if it was all combat, no story at all, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be enjoyable.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but your experience with RPG games strictly falls into the realm of fantasy RPGs. Is that right?
Yeah. I tried to. Well, I wanted to get into wargaming with Warhammer and stuff like that, but then by the time I had a job, I was old enough to have a good enough career that I could afford to get into Warhammer. They changed it, and like Warhammer Fantasy is what I wanted to get into and what I was interested in for that. But they stopped making, like, Warhammer Fantasies is no longer made and obsolete, and they've replaced it with some stupid thing. It's like the equivalent of when they brought out 4th edition D&D. And if any fans of 4th edition hear this and don't like what I said, go fuck yourself, because that's stupid.
Yeah, 4th edition was horrible. It was basically World of Warcraft.
Yeah. I got the red box every time, and since 3.5, it was either 3 or 3.5. Every time a new edition came out, I got the red box. Everybody fucking does. And the 4th edition red box, I opened it. I read through the little beginner thing to start an adventure that they set you up with to kind of set up a campaign for some friends, low level, and then I boxed it back up and gave it to a stepson who at the time was like fucking, no, young teenager. And then I think he threw it out. Yeah.
So tomorrow, right, we're going to be doing this superhero RPG game. Now, you never played any sort of thing outside fantasy other than, the small stint we did with Star Wars. So
yeah.
How are you feeling about a superhero RPG, bro?
I'm scared I'm not gonna like it. I'm not going in with it thinking like, oh, this, and this is gonna make me not like it. But I'm scared that, because I want to enjoy it and it sounds super fucking cool, but I don't know. I'm so certain things just taste, smell, feel, seem like fantasy stuff. Other stuff smells, tastes, and feels like sci-fi shit. Other stuff seems like hero stuff. I'm nervous about a tabletop RPG that's not like high fantasy or the sci-fi experience with Star Wars was good, so I'll say sci-fi too. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be something. It's definitely going to be something new and something I've never even considered before. Because I mean,
see, that surprises me because there's so many different RPG games out there. To limit yourself just to one genre shocks me because growing up, we played everything. We used to play Robotech RPG, Star Wars RPG, Vampire the Masquerade RPG. All sorts of superhero games. We played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle RPG. We played Cyberpunk. We played Shadowrun. We played fucking Rifts.
Yeah.
We played Anima. We played it, pretty much every game that's come out. We played Warhammer Fantasy. Which was a brutal system, by the way.
Yeah. And it was, I think where my problem, or how that started with me, like just strictly playing fantasy games, is like when my material all, like I got first edition, second edition stuff, and up, and it's because one of my uncles, like my dad's got a crap half a dozen siblings, my mother too, and on my dad's side, the youngest one was a nerd that was playing D&D and stuff in the 70s and all that, and he gave me his D&D books. And everybody the older kids I ended up getting in with, while I got to experience some D&D firsthand with them, all the other games that they played, because they played all that stuff too. Like I remember sitting watching them play Robotech a couple times and stuff like that, and some Star Trek RPG and a few, and Vampires Masquerade, Call of Cthulhu, and some stuff like, I don't know if Call of Cthulhu, I don't even remember anything about that except the name and the way the dude looks on the box. But yeah, I never ever though got a chance to actually take part in any of them other games. It was always full, and I just got really lucky that when the stars aligned and let it be that one of their players for D&D dropped out of that game is when I started hanging out with them. So I could, every now and then they'd let me in, and then eventually it's like, okay, let's make you a character and do it. But with the other types of games, if I was around coincidentally when they were playing it, it was cool for me to hang out, but I never actually got a chance to do much with it, and I've never gotten any material from it. And growing up, I couldn't afford to. Thank God I got the stuff for free from my uncle that I got before I was able to start working and get like part-time and going to school and getting the 3.5 and all that, because I couldn't get any gaming stuff. The Warhammer Fantasy stuff, everything I had for that, I got for free from one of my older friends. But other than that, I've never owned any other gaming stuff. I've never been invited to play any other types of games. Anytime I was around, their games were always full. So I really don't think about it. When I think tabletop, I think like, D&D, or even sometimes when I think D&D, I think Spelljammer. But, well, that's because Spelljammer is D&D, but I don't know. Anyway, rambling, I'll stop. But no, I think that's where it started happening with me, was just I've never got the chance to play it, never had any books or anything for any other types of games, so it just never came up.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm kind of excited for you then, because that allows me to kind of break your cherry in the sense of introducing you to a whole new world of art role-playing that you never would have considered before.
Yeah, and that's, for me, it's like it's a nervous type thing. It's like Dark Knight 3. I haven't read it yet. I got them all now. I'm ready to read, but I haven't read it yet. But it's kind of like that, right? Like, hey, I love tabletop games. I love superheroes. I hope to God that this isn't a game that like I don't like and then it turns me off, that kind of thing, because it could be. But at the same time, like, it's 99% chance that I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be freaking awesome. But I'm just doing the whole like, okay, what's the worst case scenario for this here? And it's
let me ask you this: what type of things would turn you off from a game? Like, would it be just the way the GM runs the game, or would it be the game system itself? Would it be its complexities? Would it be, like, what factors go into something that would make you say, you know what, I don't want to play this?
It would probably be mostly like things that I personally, on like a personal level, wouldn't complain about, but would be frustrated with. Like, for example, like right now I'm struggling with like, fuck, a superhero. If I could be a superhero, what the fuck kind of superhero would I be? Holy shit, I have no idea. Like, it's and that's not like something that's gonna, I'll be able to resolve that little issue, and that's not gonna turn me away from it. But it's just stuff like that, like where if it's, I guess the easiest way to say it, the most general easiest way to say it is just that if I can't quite grasp it, if I'm not feeling it, if I feel stupid because I keep fucking up because I just don't get it, it'll slowly like frustrate me and then make me just think like, this isn't fun for me. But sometimes that can come from like if a game's too complicated and I just can't, for some reason, can't get it, or if every single decision was something like, what kind of superhero would you be? For me, that's a really hard decision because I have no fucking clue. And if every single decision I had to make was like one like that, where it's like, I don't know what I would do, I would probably be like, well, this ain't gonna be fun because I'm just always gonna be like, never just stuck at that point where I can't make a decision because I don't know. I have no reasons for making the decision either way. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
to me, this kind of game, if I were a superhero, I don't want to pick my power. Here's the thing. Here's a good example kind of thing, I guess. No, it's not. Anyway, like with me, I wouldn't want to pick my power. I'm born the way I'm born, right? So if I were born and somehow inherently later on developed superpowers or something that made me a superhero, I shouldn't have a say in what that is. I'm born a certain way. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the class system in like for D&D. Like if I'm born and I have an innate magical ability that just shows itself later in my life, hey, I'm a sorcerer. If I'm born and I'm dumb but I'm strong and I grow up and I'm a fighter or a barbarian, right? If I grow up and I have if I'm brought up in a family where I'm raised in religion and faith, I'm a cleric or a paladin. Like, so I don't. And for a modern day superhero thing, God, I don't know. Because if I had superpowers, and because I do this with any game I try to play, I make my character like, okay, realistically, if I was in this situation, what would I be like? What would my character be like? I would be a villain. I wouldn't be a hero. If I had any kind of powers, like I wouldn't be a super villain, but I don't think I'd be a hero. I'd be more of a neutral, like, hey, if I can use this to my advantage, I will. If I can use this to help something I see that's wrong, I will. But I'm not, I'm not going to go out of my way to answer the call of the hero. I'm more going to be selfish than heroic, probably, if I think about what kind of characteristics I would have as someone with powers of some sort. I wouldn't be bad or evil, but I wouldn't really be like a superhero either, I don't think. I'd just be like a Hitchcock or Hancock.
Off there for a second. I want to scare you first, and then I want to put you at ease. All right.
This is like some kinky dominatrix sex shit happening.
Here's the thing, and I want to give you a fair warning ahead of time before we get started tomorrow. This is going to be the most complicated role-playing game system you've ever seen. Period. The character creation book itself is over 500 pages, and that's just the character creation book. Then there's a whole other book almost the same size that would essentially be the DMG. Then you got a slew of other source books, right? From the Grimoire, which is like a book of spells. We have a powers book. We have a martial arts book. We have the advanced players guide. We have a simplified version of the rules book called the basic rules, which is what I'll be bringing into people tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm looking at the folder now, and just for the 6E hero system thing, I got 34 different books here.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of those books won't even make it to the light of day. If you were to say, hey, Larry, what is the first thing I should be reading? It would be the small basic rule book, which is what I'm going to be telling everybody tomorrow. Now, with that being said, with me saying that it's the most complicated role-playing game system I've ever seen, it also happens to be the coolest.
Yeah.
And the way it works is you get a set amount of points. Let's just say 200 points for an example, okay? And in this 200 points, you allocate these points to your stats, to your skills, to your powers, and so on. Everything is made from these points. There is no rolling for stats or anything like that. There's none of that at all. And the only dice that you need in this game are 3d6.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, bring more d6 in case you have a character that's pumping out some high damage, but all damage is measured in d6. All combat and skill rolls are done with d6s. You'll never use a d20 in this game at all. There might be an odd time where I might have someone roll %, but that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So So D6s, you know, bring like a handful of D6s and you're good to go, you know.
Sweet.
So just so you know, right, you don't need to bring a full set of dice at all. The other thing is I have character sheets printed out for everybody. So you don't have to write up a character sheet, and I know some people do prefer that, like they'd rather just grab a sheet of loose leaf and write it up their own way. But in this instance, I want everyone to use the sheets that I have. And that's for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is it will help you learn the game better because everything you need to know is on these sheets. And two, it helps me decipher and you know, if I want to know something about your character, I can immediately look at the sheet, know which block to go to, and find the information that I'm looking for.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I mean, feel free to rewrite your own version, but always have a copy on the actual character sheet for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't want you to be scared that it's a complicated system because we have the basic rule book, and that's what we're using for tomorrow. We'll eventually, as people get more and more comfortable with the system, as they start learning things, as they start asking questions, then we can start bringing out the big book. You know what I mean? Because the big book will have all the answers that the little book doesn't cover. But the little book will be enough to get us going. Now, I used to run this system probably back in, well, I first got into it probably about 2013 is when I first discovered it. And, you know, I wanted to run a really cool superheroes game at the Comic Book Hunter. And they didn't really have anything going that I liked. And then I saw this thing called Champions, and I just kind of took a gamble on it. And after I started reading, I'm like, fuck, there's a lot of info here, but it's so cool. Because the way the system is designed is you can make anything. Literally anything that you can think of. As long as you have enough points, you can make it, right? You can customize everything about your character. So whatever you can envision, you can make it. And so one of the things I'm going to want you to start, and I should have had this conversation with you like last week, because now I'm going to put you on the spot, but I need you to start thinking of your character and what you want to do for tomorrow. And I know that you're probably just going to wait till tomorrow to see what happens, but it will help me out so much more if I can get some sort of idea from you tonight of what you may want to do, because that will help me plot out a little bit for tomorrow ahead of time instead of like trying to do it on the fly. Like, for instance, I know what Tom wants to do, right? So Tom wants to make the muscle of the group. He wants to have, like, his character will be called Brick. That will be his superhero name, essentially. He'll be this really tough, you know, hard skin, very strong sort of brute. You know, think of like Luke Cage. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the type of character that Tom's going for. Now, Colette, she is thinking about a character that, you know, is well-versed with electricity. Okay, so she's going to be some sort of Electro-esque sort of character. Her boyfriend, John, not quite sure what he wants to do yet. He was thinking about some sort of transform power, right? Where he's a human, but, you know, when his power kicks in, he kind of turns into something else. Not quite like the Hulk, but you kind of get that idea, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I'm stuck. Like, there's a 50% chance I can tell you exactly what I would do, and there's a 50% chance that I won't want to do that, though. Or I don't know. I'm saying it completely wrong. I'm half stoned, and I am saying it wrong. But what I mean is, like, there's something that there's a character that I could make, that I already know everything about.
Right.
But there's only like a 50% chance that I'd want to do it. I don't know, like, so it's hard for me. I don't know. Fuck. If I was gonna just see, I don't. Every time I start thinking of something, I'm like, oh no, you're just copying this superhero or something. I'm trying not to tell myself not to do that because that's just gonna stress me out more.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about copying anything. It's a game. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I don't know how I'd classify it. I could make a. Well, one of the things I was thinking about maybe doing was just using like my character that I'm using for my own comic story that I'm working on. But
That sounds good.
There's no but. The only but is that my self-conscious or my something in my brain is just telling me that it's stupid. So that's self-sabotage or whatever it is all the but was. So I guess there's not really a but. I just feel stupid with stuff that I do myself. So that's probably the only reason. See, who said fucking a year or two ago that YouTube wasn't therapeutic?
Well, I mean, let me ask you this.
But he doesn't have any powers, though.
But that's a good thing. Not everything has to have powers.
Yeah.
Here's the cool thing about the game. They have this whole section about powers. And what it is powers are used to make anything in the game that isn't normal, right? So let's say you have an Iron Man character, right? Where your whole gimmick is, you know, you got a lot of money and you got this really cool suit of armor, right? Well, you actually make the armor using the rules for making powers. So powers allows you to make spells, powers, you know, equipment that has special abilities, right? It's all underneath the same section.
Yeah. Well, this character would be. I'm trying to think of actual characters I can use as a comparison. I guess the closest thing would be that this guy's kind of a cross between Rorschach and Batman, where Batman, where he's good at fighting and he uses gadgets instead of superpowers. He's not. He's actually the opposite of Bruce Wayne when it comes to being rich and wealthy and stuff like that. He's actually the opposite. He has a very harsh. He has a harsh, rough, fucking poor upbringing, and anyway. And Rorschach, because he's insane. He's just crazy. He thinks like he's a vigilante that murders. In the story, he's a vigilante that murders people, and he thinks he's doing the right thing. Sometimes he's not, but he thinks he is. Like, he's crazy, right? Like, and doesn't give a fuck. So you got Rorschach and Batman without the Bruce Wayne part of Batman, kind of mixed a little bit together. That's a bad explanation on paper. It sounds a lot better because it's actually, I can write better and I can talk when it comes to describing stuff or explaining stuff. But yeah.
Well, I mean, any info you can give me is good. So, I mean, for example, I have a sheet of paper here, and I got all 4 names of the players, and I'm writing down anything that I know of what they're going to do for sure, right? And so for you right now, I got down Gadget Guy, Insane Vigilante.
Yeah, pretty well, yeah. And that's all. And like, he doesn't use guns and stuff, but well, he doesn't carry guns if he's fighting like a group of thugs and they pull a gun on him after he fucks up 1 or 2 of them. If he gets his hands on the gun, he'll shoot him, whatever. But he doesn't intentionally use guns all the time. Doesn't wear body armor really either. He has some pieced together body armor type stuff he incorporates in his clothes, but he's just basically just like a vigilante in a big city that because of his life and the way it's gone, he is insane and fucked in the head. Like, no, he's not insane. Like, he doesn't hallucinate or like he's not literally insane, but he's fucked in the head. Like, he's got a code, he sticks to it. It doesn't matter what the rule of law says. He'll fuck up a judge or a cop or something just as much as he will a rapist or a thug or something like that. He has a code he sticks by. He is very basic, right from wrong kind of deal, right? Like, he knows if something's right, he knows if something's wrong. And if something's wrong, he goes after it. And that's good. And with his story, the way it is in my stories anyway, is that he's like that because of, the where he grew up in the city and just kind of, defend the fucking people in the ghetto kind of deal, but to an extreme. Like, I mean, he goes after street level thug guys on weed on the street to kids, and he goes after like the mayor of the city and the police chief and stuff in the same way. He's not insane, but he gives no fucks, and he's savage and but he's a really nice dude though. Like, I mean, he helps charities and orphan kids and stuff, like old ladies in his community.
Sounds like you in real life.
Yeah, a little bit. If I had a way to stop, like, I don't know, if I was more confident I could stop bullets or a taser, then yeah, fuck the police, and I would be a vigilante like that probably if I could, if I had the ability. No, he's just unfortunate stuff for him, and he just turned out to be, there's only like very less than half a dozen people that he trusts and that he regularly interacts with, and yeah.
Well, I like it. I like it, and I think that's what you should do.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. I think that from the second you told me about you were starting this kind of game anyway, I think I probably know it right from then, because it just, anything I can do to use a character that's an original character that I'm making, that I am, like you, gonna try to launch to start my own comic universe with, the more I can use them, the better. Maybe playing the game will help me think, you know what, maybe I should change this little thing and tweak it because I never thought of this scenario or something like that, right?
Right.
I don't know. To me, I just sound stupid now, so I have no idea if I'm making sense.
Making complete sense to me, brother. I mean, I'm not sure if we're making sense to anyone in the chatter box. We got Kyle Waka, who is checking us out.
Yeah, I've seen in there. It's been fluctuating between 3, 5. I think there were 6 at one time.
Oh, I'm sure this is a boring conversation for anyone that's not into this type of thing.
That's all right.
That's all right. I mean, this is more or less just me and you shooting the breeze about tomorrow. So I have a question now. Now that you've given me the basic idea, now it's time for something even more kinky, Maverick. Now it's time for the probing.
Probing. I like it, the lube.
Ebaloo. It's time for the probing. This is where I'm just going to ask you some maybe some rapid fire questions, and you try and answer what you can. And if you can't answer something, then no worries. We just we kind of move on. You know what I mean? But yeah. I'm basically picking your brain so I can set up some sort of introduction scenario for you tomorrow, just based on your ideas. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I should have. Now I'm mad at myself. I should have done this sooner, because I can give you an entire backstory from the time this guy was 10 years old until right up to present day. Like, because he's been a vigilante since he was 14. Like, and it's because of the people he interacted with. But I mean, I can give you a full backstory tomorrow, or I can bring one with me if you want. But sorry, I'm just rambling. Go ahead, shoot your questions.
If you have one already written out, yeah, bring it along, right? And then we can modify it based on what will fit and what won't fit.
Yeah.
And I also like to reward people that do things like that. Like, not everyone can write, but if you can write a backstory, I'll give you extra points. If you're an artist and you draw a picture of your character, I'll give you extra points. You know what I mean? In Tom's case, he's going to drive us home and host the game, so he gets extra points for that. You know what I mean? Anything that you can do to contribute to the game, will be worth a little bonus XP in the end, right? So, yeah, if you have a history, cool. But let's start off with this. I want to know, how does he get his gadgets? If he's not Bruce Wayne with a ton of money, where did the gadgets come from?
Well, in my story, the way he gets this stuff is, like I say, he's been doing it. He's been an orphan since he was 10, and his lifelong friend, and was an orphan too, and so he was orphaned at 10. She was a couple years older than him, took him under his wing, and eventually by 13, 14, after learning enough to go out on the streets with her, because she was already doing it, he just kind of pieced it together as he went. Like, he starts off with nothing, like a baseball bat and fucking a mini baseball bat, and like just dark clothes so that he can be in the shadows a little bit, like, you know what I mean? And he just pieces stuff together.
Jones vibe from that,
Oh, what?
Casey Jones from the Turtles.
Oh yeah, Casey. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, Casey Jones started off with like a fucking golf bag full of bats and hockey sticks.
But and he just, like, said some stuff, like him and his friend that are together through his whole life. Basically, what they do, and I guess in the game it would be what he did, or for his backstory or whatever. But the way they did it was like, when they busted a drug dealer, they took that drug dealer's money, computers, weapons, and anything else useful that they could sell or use for themselves. So he pieced it together from stuff he got from criminals when he busted up criminals, and stuff he found in the alleyways and shit. Like, this piece of sheet metal, I can take this and I can form it, and I got a torch, so I can make a steel faceplate or something for, because he eventually has like a skull type mask thing that he wears as part of his get up eventually. But that's years after he's into it. Anyway, yeah, he pieces stuff together from what he can find and what he gets from, like I say, if he busts a big heroin dealer, there's tens of thousands of dollars probably, and fucking guns and whatever else he can get. Whenever they get drugs and weapons, they destroy the drugs, they sell the weapon, like guns and stuff. They'll sell guns, and they'll take the drug dealer's TV and everything. They'll sell it all for money for them to, like, for a little place to live and to invest in, like, okay, now we can afford to buy canisters of pepper spray. Now we can afford to buy gas grenades or smoke grenades, or now we can afford to buy what we need to make our own smoke grenades, or to, you know, make some body armor that we can incorporate into our clothes, stuff like that. So he pieces it together, scraps of what he can find plus what he can steal from the criminals that he fucks up. That was a really long fucking ramble for just that simple.
That's the info I need, though, so that's good. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually writing up an NPC, because you know what? I haven't ran this game in 2 years, and I have forgotten more than I remember. So
that happens.
So what I got to do is, like, as we're talking, I'm just kind of writing up this NPC, so that when I guide you guys through making a character tomorrow, that I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I can make one character now, then I'll be like, okay, I can help them make their characters tomorrow, because the way that this is going to work tomorrow, just to give you kind of like a vision here, is like, we're going to get to Tom's, you know, we'll let everyone have time to settle in and blah, 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 right? And once we get down to the brass tacks, I have a cheat sheet. It's 18 pages of cheat sheet.
Nice.
And it's my plan to read it all to you guys. It won't be as long as it sounds, and we'll do it in sections. But basically, the idea is we'll all sit around the table. Everyone's going to have a character sheet in front of them. And block by block, because the character sheets are divided by blocks, okay? We are going to fill this thing out. And we're going to do it together, you know? So, like, the very first thing we'll do is the stats. You know what I mean? Then we'll probably get into the combat stuff, and then we'll get into the skills and your endurance and your body. Like, this is, like, you know, more or less like your hit points. You know what I mean? But we're gonna do it step by step. So everyone will be done their stats at the same time. Everyone will be done their skills, hopefully, at the same time. Everyone will be done, you know, their advantages and their disadvantages at the same time. And so by the time that's done, I'm hoping that will only take maybe like 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my goal, is to, you know, try and get them done within a couple of hours. Then what we'll do is, once all the characters are done, now these will be your characters before they're superheroes. In your case, you're a low-level vigilante. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll be a normal guy with normal stats. You know, still pretty much carrying around your ball bats and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I can. You know, I mean, that was just basically my comic book character backstory kind of deal. I mean, I'm gonna have to adjust some stuff, and I can change stuff for the backstory for a game, right? Like, that's
right.
Definitely.
But I'm using your basic idea here is because once you get into your more fancier equipment that you're stealing from people, you're gonna have to pay points for those, right?
Yeah.
You just can't rob someone and get like a bunch of stuff that's worth a bunch of points for free. That's not how the game works.
No.
So, like, even a gun in this game costs a character points, okay?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so, like, let's say it's like a really souped up gun. You know, it's got infrared and targeting tracking, and it's got armor piercing. Like, you make that gun from the Powers book, right? As a piece of gear, you know what I mean? It's actually considered to be a gadget. And when you make the gadget, if your gadget gets stolen or destroyed or whatever, it's up to me to replace that gadget, because you paid points for it, right? As if you grab something that you didn't pay points for, well, if something happens to it, you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
Go get another one. But if you invest points into your gear, even if it gets utterly destroyed, either I have to replace that somehow or give you back those points. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then you can use those points for whatever. But in most cases, I have to have I need you. You know, it'd be my job that your gear is not completely destroyed and it's fixable. You know what I mean? Or it's stolen, but you get it back. I have to be able to replace those points somehow.
Yeah.
And everything can be made with points, like even from cell phones to cybernetics to computers. Like, say you have a really souped up computer in your secret lair, you're probably gonna have to put some points into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So, because everyone is starting off before their powers, you're not going to have gadgets that are like powers, right? Because no one else is going to have them yet. You're going to get those during the course of the game while the other characters are developing their powers, like their mutants, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone in the game in the first session is going to have what's called an awakening moment. And the awakening means this is when their powers awaken from their dormant state. Everyone's going to go through some sort of event where they're going to have their awakening. And this is what will set us off for the next session when we start, because there's a whole section for powers that will take us probably a night to do, right? And we're not going to have time to make the basic characters and develop everyone's powers tomorrow. Like, I just don't see it. But so if I start you guys off as normals and actually role play you guys getting your powers and getting your gadgets, then I can slowly introduce the other stuff as we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what's going to be, you know, on the plan for tomorrow. So now you've already given me enough for you to work with, right? Now, during the course of conversation, if you happen to drop other knowledge on me for your character, fantastic. But already I got enough to go, okay. So one of the things that you're going to have to invest for your character is you're probably going to have to spend points into either like an ally or a connection. Yeah. And this will represent that female friend that you have, right? That's kind of guiding you or helping you. Because I'm going to have to make her as an NPC if we expect her to be in the game at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want her to be useful to you at all on any level, that takes some of your points to invest in. But then she'll always be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll have to, again, I'll understand better the way it works when we're actually doing it. But if, because the stat thing, like what about like a speed and agility and stuff like that?
No, that comes from your points too.
All right, cool.
So you have like a pool of points, but it's used for every aspect of your character. So like I want you to think of let's put it in Pathfinder terms. You're going to do your stats. You're going to do all your combat statistics. You're going to pick all your skills, okay? But there's this other section. It's called advantages and disadvantages, okay? And advantages are certain things that you have for your character that's unique to your character. So I can probably give you some examples here of what like possible advantages would be. And what disadvantages would be. Like okay, so let's start with complications. Those are disadvantages, right? You might have a code of honor, okay? And that's a disadvantage to you because you have to act within your code of honor or suffer penalties when you don't. You could have say you're the Incredible Hulk. You could have a disadvantage added to one of your powers called accidental change, which means like you get angry and you accidentally change into the Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everyone has to take 30 points of complications. You could have a dependent, like basically like an NPC who's like a young brother or sister or something who's always getting into trouble that you always have to go rescue. They're a hindrance to you, not an asset, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that. You could have like what's called a distinctive feature. So maybe you look like Nightcrawler from the X-Men and you can't go out in normal public without people screaming bloody murder. That's a disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
you have to pick 30 points worth of those. So disadvantages can also be like a psychological complication. You know what I mean? And I'll give you examples. Maybe he's very vengeful, or maybe he's obsessed with something, or maybe he's a coward, right? Like being a coward is worth 20 complication points. And so every time you go into battle, you have to make rolls to see if you can fight or if you're going to fucking hide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a code versus killing like Batman, right? Batman doesn't kill. Well, that's a 20-point complication against Batman. That makes Batman's life a little harder when he just can't outright kill the Joker, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then advantages work, in the exact opposite of that. Advantages, could be like you have enhanced perception, or you have, maybe you have security clearance with the government. That's an advantage. You know what I mean? Maybe you have a whole lot of money because you have to buy money with your advantages, right? Your wealth level. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Spend advantage points into being wealthy. Your connection would be, your friend would definitely be an advantage. That's a person that you can go to for favors and for help and for whatever, right?
Yeah.
maybe your character's really, really good looking and you get, you know, extra dice on what's called a presence roll. Well, you know, that would be an advantage called striking appearance, you know?
Nice.
So that's just to give you an example of like the little things that you can pick for your characters. And all powers have advantages and disadvantages too, right? Like Superman has an extreme complication disadvantage against him, which is his vulnerability to kryptonite.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, on Superman's sheet, you know, vulnerability to kryptonite would be listed underneath the complications section, right? So when you think of your character, I need you to think of in that term too. What are the things that kind of make him human, you know? Like for me, like I get raged out even sometimes, you know, maybe I should have a little bit of rage as a complication on my sheet, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I will not have any problem filling that information out.
And you know, there's a whole list of things that you can, you know, pick from, and if there's not something on the list, right, but you think would work, then you tell me what it is, and then we just assign it a point value, and away we go, you know?
Yeah. I think the only problem I'll have with filling that stuff out is I'll probably be like, I got to have 30 points of disadvantage, but the stuff that I think I would have is like 100 points of disadvantage. Trying to whittle it down.
Right. Well, you'll find that your points will go faster than you think they will, right? And as the game goes on, like the way that you role play, if I see you role playing a certain way that warrants a complication, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say, you know, you kill everything in sight. Well, I might have to give you a psychological complication of you being a psychopath murderer, you know?
Almost like a equivalent of like DM changing the player's alignment because they're supposed to be good, but they go and slaughter a bunch of innocent people.
Kind of the idea, yeah. The cool thing about this game, though, is there's no alignments.
Yeah.
Because humans,
sounds like it.
In general, don't have alignments, you know? We can have a bad day where we do something nasty to somebody. We can have a good day where we got like a heart of gold, you know?
Yeah.
So no alignments are in the game. The other thing that's not in the game are absolutes. And by that, I mean there's no way to make your character totally invulnerable to everything. You know what I mean? There's always a way to do. There's always a way to get through. Even in Superman's case, you know, he's got that kryptonite vulnerability, right? He's the great example of this, you know. There's always got to be a way somehow to beat you. The game is designed to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen the appeal of playing something that's invincible anyway.
Oh, I've seen people do it though. They try and min-max their character so bad that nothing can touch them, you know?
Yeah.
This game is not designed to do that.
Well, to me, that's a good thing, so.
And you know my style of running. I'm going to definitely make you a role-playing character, and I'm going to bring a lot of story element to it, just like I did with Star Wars, and probably even on a greater level, because this is, you know, something that, you know, a genre that I know a lot about, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and every one of you guys are going to have your own time. Like, I'm going to start you off without you guys knowing each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So none of you guys have met. Everyone's going to get, like, you know, 20, 30 minutes easily of, like, an introduction for themselves. And then I'm slowly going to weave that web together to get you all as a group. But I have one common factor that's going to be common to everybody that's going to help do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tell you what that is because that'd be a spoiler.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, sounds like it'd be fun. I mean, you know.
Any questions at all?
Oh, no, probably be all kinds when we actually start doing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'd be surprised if you didn't, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to either, if I can get the printer to work, I'm going to print a couple things off for like the basic rule book and stuff. If not, I'm going to just put it on my tablet, which I was hoping to not do because I was hoping to get a few minutes of recording in, but I'd rather have the books. So one way or another. Probably just put them on tablet.
All the books will be at the game. Plus, I'm going to bring my computer too, which is going to have them all on there as well, right? And I'm going to have the key sheets. The problem with the books, like actually having the physical books, is that they're out of print.
Yeah.
So, like if you were to go out and buy them, the problem is that they're kind of hard to find in the stores because they're out of print, right? So the Comic Hunter has a handful of like kind of source books for it, but I don't think they have any of the main books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
it's probably not.
Yeah. So if anyone wanted the books, they would actually have to kind of like order them online. You know?
Yeah, probably not cheap either.
The main book was like $50, $60 when I bought it.
It's not too bad.
It's expensive to me. I remember like buying D&D books for like $20, you know.
Yeah, I think that I got all 3 of the 3.5 core rule books for like $20 each or 25. I think 24 something maybe.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So and I mean, I'm gonna be telling everyone tomorrow that that I'm still learning this game system myself. It's been a couple of years since I've I ran it, so I mean, there might be questions that I can't answer right away, and what will happen then is those will get written down, right? And during the course of the week, I will be able to look up those answers, and then come either with those the week after, or just post them up on the group site that we got for the game, right?
Yeah.
And I do plan to utilize that group site quite a bit. I've used it in other campaigns in the past. Like I've added you to it. If you go through it, a lot of things that you'll see in there are things from past games, but it all still is the same universe, the same world, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you can learn from that group site, learn, because I'll be making references to things that are in there, and I don't expect everyone to catch on right away, But the more that they kind of read the history of what's happened in the world and the things that we've done in the game and stuff like that, and I've even put like shit for rules in there, you know what I mean? Like when we had rules questions, if you go back far enough, you'll see me answering questions on rules and stuff in there. Like,
yeah, that's super useful.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be a useful thing. I'm looking for something, man. It's pissing me off. I'm looking for what's called a speed chart. And a speed chart is like determines when a character can act. Because the way initiative is done is whoever's got the highest dex goes first, period, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
And then you have a stat called speed. And speed will tell you how many turns you get in a segment. A segment basically like being around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are 12 phases, or sorry, yeah, there's 12 segments in a round. And in each segment, there's a phase. And so a segment, a round, represents 12 seconds worth of time. And a segment is 1 second of that time.
Okay.
And so when you have say like a speed of 3, that's going to tell you what segments you can act in. And so there's a chart for that, and I can't find it. Like I'm trying to do a really rushed job here, and I don't have days to go through the book page by page. So I'm kind of like on the PDF, just fucking flipping through it, trying to find it quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's one thing I don't like about PDFs is with the book, I can go to the index in the back in like half a second, and like 70% of the time find what I'm looking for. PDF, I got to scroll through if I don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. It's ticking me off.
Yes, I'm not a fan of PDF stuff.
Well, the cool thing about PDFs, though, is like, let's say, like in making the cheat sheet, you know what I mean? I can literally copy and paste from the PDF right onto the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a rule. I don't want to write it out myself. I can just, like, drag the mouse over it, copy and paste, and then put it into the WordPad document and break down the book into its most basic elements, And then next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to photocopy all the tables we need, because there are a lot of tables and charts for this game, and we're going to need them all, And so I'm going to have to make photocopies of those and make like 2 or 3 copies and hand them out to people,
Yeah.
Like I said, here's the scary part. There's a lot to it. It's complicated. It's a lot of math. This is a type of game where sometimes you kind of need a calculator for. And I know that will scare off a lot of people. But when we get playing it, and once you get used to it, it's so cool. And it's the best for like a superhero game.
Definitely sounds all right. No, it sounds good. It's probably going to be pretty cool.
Well, you got the PDFs there. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to look through them at all yet or not.
Yeah, I flipped through a couple of them.
Yeah, did you see anything interesting? What's your take so far?
My takeaway so far would be I got to flip
man.
through
Like,
some more.
If it looks fucked up to you, tell me it looks fucked up, man. Like,
no, it's just the like you said, the overwhelming thing of like there's a lot to it, and it's just like fucking. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just that's like right now. I'm in the mindset where I'm like just paranoid about. Okay, don't try to remember everything.
Oh yeah, don't
yeah, but that's just what I like. My brain's like, hey, you're gonna forget everything. You're gonna forget it. You're gonna forget it. And I'm supposed to be.
That's why I made the cheat sheet. The cheat sheet is just as much for me as it is for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because yeah, I mean, it's been like there was a time like 2 years ago I could have told you almost anything about this, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't been in a gaming group in almost that period of time at all. You know, like other than the little bit we did at the Hunter with Star Wars. Like our main gaming group just kind of basically fell apart. You know. Due to a few reasons. I mean, not everyone can make it on the same night. Well, that kind of sucks. We didn't really have a place to play anymore, right? That kind of sucked, you know.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of infighting with some of the players, and that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, we just, like Tom, though, my buddy Tom, obviously.
Yeah.
He's been in my gaming group since the very beginning, pretty much anything I've ever ran, Tom has been a part of. He's been the one consistent. And Tom likes to be the leader of the groups. And so do I when I play. I like to be the leader, I like to be the guy that's calling the shots.
Yeah.
And like you, I don't get a chance to play that much, right? So I'm often stuck as the guy, running the games.
Yeah.
But I don't mind running the games, but it is nice to play once in a while too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the whole thing too. Like it's because it's fun. I mean, running the game is fun, but it's a different kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I found the speed chart, by the way.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's in the back of the book in the combat section. I was figuring it'd be more up front, but it's more towards the back. But now that I know it's in the back, because that's going to be an important part tomorrow when we create our characters, is knowing what phases you guys can act in. So, a lot of interesting things to go over tomorrow. By reading them off to you, it will help me remember them as well. This NPC is coming together slowly but surely as I build her. I got all her stats done. I know what phases she can act in. I know what her combat values are. What's left for me to do, honestly, now is pick her skills and her advantages and disadvantages. And as far as her powers go, it's not really that relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point. So, very, very cool, man. I can't wait. We're gaming with 2 people, though, I'd never gamed with before. And that is the part that makes me nervous. You know what I mean?
That's always fucking nerve-wracking the first few times when you like say it's someone that you've never gamed with before, and you're bringing them into your game. Right,
because I mean, I've not even really even played with, but barely even know either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and the other thing is they're probably not going to want us to make videos on them.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
But it's Colette and John, and they're comic book writers and artists, right?
Yeah.
Colette, does that Badassical comic, and she's also done covers for Lady Death and Dollface. So she's a professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're gaming with us. So what I'm worried about is like them judging the game and them judging me as a GM, and You know, because they're probably used to their own sort of gaming style and gaming group, and they have no idea what we're gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing too, because you gotta. I mean, the only way a game's gonna work is if it's enjoyable for everybody. The only way it's gonna be enjoyable for everybody is if everybody has not the same play style, but the same general gaming group attitude. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense, but
here's the thing. You know, Colette, I think she's gonna love it. John, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I don't know him. He seems to be a very private dude, quiet dude. You know, like, I just don't know what he's going to think. You know what I mean? And if he decides that he doesn't like it, that means she won't play, and that means we just lost 2 players. You know?
Yeah, well, that would suck.
So everything kind of hinges on this first session tomorrow, of like making it fun for everybody, making it fun for them, making it so that they want to come back. Because if they don't come back, we basically don't have a game.
Yeah.
That's the part that worries me.
Well, Luke, the guy that was here the other day when you were here with Magic cards.
Yeah.
If someone drops out and you really need someone, and he might play.
Well, you see, that'd be cool, right? You know, if we can get like, you know, just 1 or 2 replacements, right? That's cool. I mean, I don't want to run a game with 2 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta have at least bare minimum 3, but I like 4 or 5 in the game. You know?
Yeah.
Right now,
I'm fairly if you need it or want it, another person or more people or something, I might be able to. I might know 1 or 2. I know he'd probably be interested, and there might be. And now I'm just thinking, now I'm paranoid. But yeah, no, I don't want them to drop out. No, what if they do? Who can I call if they drop out?
Yeah, and you know, maybe you know that's over paranoia on my part, but you know,
yeah. Well, you never know. Like I say, you never played with them before, so.
Right, and you know, if things move too slow for them, or if John finds the system too complicated for him, you know what I mean? Like, because he's used to Vampire the Masquerade. That's what he's used to playing. This is a completely different system, right? Completely different ball game altogether. And,
yeah, it might just not be his style, or.
Well, he was telling Tom initially that he was looking for something that wouldn't be a big epic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that, you know, they can kind of jump in and jump out of, because they're busy people. You know, they do a lot of comic book conventions and they got deadlines, and sometimes they can't make every Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, the problem is I don't do anything small scale. You know, It is going to be an epic. It is going to be a big deal. It is going to be a lot of work on my part to make it happen, and that means. You know, I've already invested a lot of time this week into trying to get things ready and making the cheat sheets and binding all my books, digging out my NPCs, and you know, reading stuff to refamiliarize myself with shit. And I don't want that time to be wasted. You know.
Yeah. No, it's definitely understandable.
I could have been live streaming doing my gaming instead of that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I'm pretty positive about it. Like, I'm excited in the fact that we're going to do it, and we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens, you know. And if they do drop out, we'll try our best to recruit a couple of new people, you know what I mean. But I really hope that they stick with it, because, you know, when you get people that do comic books, I mean, obviously they're going to be really creative, you know, and that excites me. You know, I like people that can come up with really cool ideas and role play their characters very well, like John being a writer and Colette being an artist. Could you imagine like her drawing her character at the game session, you know, and you're seeing this like fucking comic book fucking professional quality of her character, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I always like to see artists do their work.
I mean, I'm gonna try not to fanboy over her, you know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing with me, is like, how do I not fanboy? Because I'm a fan, you know, I'm a fan of her work. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen her work, but she's awesome. She's like one of my favorite artists currently going right now, you know. Like,
yeah, and so there's an additional stress on top of everything else.
You know, like, it's insane, you know. But they're gamers, right? And so when they were at the ECCE, you know, they were asking around like, who runs games around here, you know, and they were talking to Tom, and Tom's like, well, you guys should talk to Larry, because he runs a lot of games and he's good at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and a conversation was had, and they were playing, and then they weren't playing, and now they're playing again. You know, and that's kind of what I'm worried about. Like he was so quick to drop out the first time. You know.
Yeah. That's That's something hard about playing with a couple too. Usually, at least from my experience, what I've seen in my experience, if like a dude and his girlfriend are in your group, a lot of the time, if one of them drops out, they both go.
See, Colette drew that.
Yeah.
That's probably the best Niobe sketch cover I've ever had done.
Good looking.
So yeah, I'm worried about, you know. Okay, here's the other thing. Sometimes, you know what, we like to go in the back shed and have a puff during our games. You know what I mean?
I would certainly hope so.
But I don't know if that's the thing. You know, I don't think it is. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have to sneak away from them to go do that. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes Tom might have a beer during the game, or I might have a drink of rum during the game. You know, if that's not someone's thing, that might turn them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not smokers, you know. So I mean, Tom doesn't smoke in the house, you know, so it's not going to bother them too much. But you know, we'll have to take our smoke breaks and stuff too, you know. Like,
yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens, and it'll either work out or it won't. And I hope for the best. And
well, I got a message from John today. He was asking me if Tom was going to have a dinner for us tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I said, I'm not aware of any dinner plans, but I said it was my plan maybe just to pick up something on the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, because what's a game session without your fast food or your junk food? You know, like,
yeah,
you gotta have that stuff. Gotta have the goodies. So my plan tomorrow, Mav, is to pick you up sometime after 5 o'clock. I'm going to aim for 5:30, but it might be 5 minutes before. It could be 5 minutes after, but it'll be around there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Tom is going to drive us home at the end of the session. So that's how we're getting there, and that's how we're getting back.
Sounds good.
And so John and Colette are, you know, they both know that it's going to be for 6. It'll probably be around 7 before we really get underway, and hopefully we can go to 12 or 1, you know?
Yeah, well, every game session in existence ever in history since the beginning of gaming, you never start on time. Everyone always fucks around for an hour.
The more I get done now, like tonight, like I'll be working on this shit until I go to bed now. You know what I mean? I won't go to bed now probably till about 6 or 7 in the morning. Yeah. So for the next like 5 hours, I'm just going to be trying to work on this as much as I can. I'm not too worried about having too much done, you know, because it's just going to be an intro session. I could probably run that without even looking at a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could run an intro session and not have anyone roll any dice, you know. But I want some dice rolling done. Like I want some people to roll their skills tomorrow to see just what it is to roll a skill. There will be a basic combat I have planned out with Tom based on his history, just so we can demonstrate how combat works. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And so everyone will get to do something and get to try out the dice, you know. And then, you know, the following week or 2 weeks, like depending on John and Colette's schedule, right? I'll have read more and researched more, and then we can get even more detailed into it, you know. Like there's all sorts of rules for like you know, say you have a machine gun. Well, how does auto fire work? Well, there's a whole page on that, you know, which I haven't read yet, you know. Well, I have read, but it was like 2 years ago, so I forget how it works, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it won't be important tomorrow. I don't see anyone running around with fucking machine guns tomorrow, you know, like, you know, any combat that happens tomorrow, I'm figuring it's going to be melee combat, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your character might run into some trouble and you might have to take out someone's head with your bat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can do that. As a note, you're going to want to have weapon familiarity with your bat or whatever your main weapon of choice is going to be. Basically being like, you know, having a weapon proficiency in it.
Well, the end result of like a full-fledged fucking been doing it for almost a decade, and he's got his final gear basically is like he uses essentially a steel or a metal quarterstaff kind of deal.
Right.
He's all
right. So you have a weapon familiarity in quarterstaff, right? Otherwise, you'll have a -3 to all your rolls, which would suck, you know.
Especially if I rolled a 3. Ah!
No, see, in this game, the lower you roll, the better.
Oh, okay.
If you roll a 3, that's a critical success.
Nice.
If you roll an 18, you have fucking fumbled. But you'll see how all that works tomorrow. It's a lot like GURPS, but you never played GURPS, so I'm just talking gibberish to you. But you'll see how it works tomorrow. I mean, the lower the better, though. So if you have D6s that really suck, that always roll low for you, those are the suckers you want to bring tomorrow.
Get them ones, yeah.
Bring the ones that do, like, you know, lots of 6s for your damage dice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you want. I think we probably bored anyone that was in the chatter box, eh?
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone back there yet.
Yeah. It's just 2 watching. Like I said, that's probably me and you.
Oh, well.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know, it's really cool because, like, I'm digging through all these NPCs that I made, like, 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. Oh, I forgot about you. Oh, you'll be cool to drop in the game. And let you know, and you know that Niobe's going to be in the game. You might not see her tomorrow, you know what I mean? But she'll be in the game, you know?
Yeah.
She might not make, you know, I might not bring her in tomorrow because Niobe's already made with all her powers. I'm not starting her off, like, from scratch, you know? In this world, Niobe's a well-known name. She's a superstar. She's in concert at the city you guys are starting in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
But eventually, once you guys get your abilities and your powers and all your gear, then you'll start, you know, encountering her, and basically you guys will become a team, you know?
Yeah.
You'll be the badass of the team. You'll be the Rorschach of the team, but you'll still be on the team. And, you know, your comrades might have to try and cool you down a bit or try and keep you out of trouble, you know? But you'll be on the team, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just picturing different things where, like, we did all this work to get into, like, some high security office building thingy to get some kind of, I don't know, information off a computer or something like that, and like everybody's make different suggestions for fucking best way to get through it, and we need it, and we can't let them, our enemies, have the information, blah blah. And I just picture my guy just like, well, let's just blow the fucking computer up then. We might not learn nothing, but they won't have it.
Yeah, they won't have it either. Exactly, you know. And something like that might be considered a willpower roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you have this temptation, like, you know what, fuck it, you just want to act on impulse. Like, if you're guys who want to act on impulse, then that probably require a couple of willpower rolls to see if you can will yourself not to do it, you know, or you just jump the gun if you fail the roll. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that'll be interesting anyway.
There'll be lots of stuff like that in the game, but I'm not going to overload you guys at once, especially tomorrow. Tomorrow, like I said, will be an introduction to the system. Everyone will get, you know, their moment of time to get their characters going. And then the second session will be the big one. You know what I mean? Like, where we really fucking get neck deep in the shit, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to see if they're going to stick around before I put too much into this, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I want to see what kind of character script they're going to make. I know what you're doing now. I know what Tom's doing. I kind of got an idea what Colette's doing, and John is, you know, he's the X factor. He threw a couple of ideas at me that I shot down. So, you know, but he didn't, you know, he had no idea that we were going to start off as normal human beings and stuff like that, right? And once I explained that to him, you know, I think he got the picture a little bit better, you know.
Okay.
Basically, you're starting off as 0-level humans, and you'll grow from there, you know.
Yeah, I've come across a few people every now and then. I come across someone that doesn't want to start a campaign or start a game at, like, just starting at level 1. Want to start a game like level 5 or level 8 or something like that and play a high-level campaign right away instead of working towards it. Yeah,
because a lot of times the games never last, right? So they never get that far. And, you know, I've been in games like that, and I've been one of those players like, fuck, we got to start at level 1 all over again? Like, Jesus Christ, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, especially if you're with a new group or you're doing a new game system, that's probably what you should do, you know? Like,
yeah, if nothing else, I mean, at least when you're first getting used to the system, the game system itself, start with the lower level stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to buy D&D 3.5 and immediately make 20th level characters and start a game, you know.
No.
But, you know, we did play the High Levels campaign. They had a book for it. It was called High Levels Campaign, and we loved the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just trying to think if there's any other info I want to drop on you, but I think we're good for now. I just recommend checking out the Facebook site, scrolling through that, learning as much as you can. Have a look at the basic book. But as much as you can do tonight, probably the best thing would be is just to write down notes for your character. Nothing to do with the game system, just notes. You know what I mean? You know, the stuff you carry, basic history, basic description. You know, anything that that helps you role play it better or helps you describe it to me better. You know, that's what I'd be worried about for tomorrow.
Yeah, that can be done.
Even if it's just like a paragraph, you know what I mean? Anything.
Yeah, that's doable. More than doable.
Like Tom is already writing me shit, and he's like already posting on the page, like, you know, his fucking journal entries and stuff. I don't know if you read them yet, but
nice. I've seen that yesterday, I think.
Yeah, so he's already pumped, right? Like, and I told him, I said, dude, just calm down, man. Like, he's like, I need you to approve this for my character. I'm like, Tom, just wait till tomorrow, you know? Like, I get it. You're excited. You know, it's been a while. I said, I'm excited too, but wait till you see what I tell you guys and what I have planned, and then you can start throwing ideas at me, you know? Like,
yeah.
Because, you know, there's some stuff that just didn't fit, and but I don't want to tell them why it doesn't fit without spoiling anything. So I just told them, you just got to wait, man. Just trust me. Just wait, you know. Like,
yeah, wait and see.
Wait and see. Wait and see. So did you want me to message you before leaving, or do you just want me to show up?
Yeah, just like throw a message before you leave. I mean, whether like don't wait for me to answer, but just
give me the warning. I'm on my way.
Yeah, just in case I'm like, because if I'm fucking doing something and not watching the time, but I go to check check my tablet or something.
Yeah, pack whatever you need, man. So pencils, paper, dice, you know, whatever you usually bring to a game session, have that stuff with you.
Oh yeah, I already got it ready. I'm gonna have to take stuff out of my preparedness thing because I don't need all the dice I got in there.
Well, dude, you should see like on my art table right now. I got like a stack of books that won't fit in my book bag, plus a fucking book full of my drawings of characters, plus a bunch of sheets beside me that I gotta go through and see what's coming tomorrow. Like, fuck. A lot of work to do these things, man. It really is, you know, especially when you haven't done it in a while. And I'm like dusting off the old books, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, jumping back into this head first, you know, like,
yeah,
you know, and I'm trying to, you know, I got to remember to bring my pencils and stuff. I don't want to be like the GM and go, hey, can I borrow someone's pencil? You know?
Yeah. Now you guys got all your stuff. All right, you ready? Good. All right. Someone lend me a pencil.
I forgot the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. No. You know what? I think that's a good conversation for now. Me and you can still talk about the game, you know, on backwards compatible, like, or on your D420 channel, whatever it is, but we just can't really, you know, film it or record it, or, you know what I mean? Like, we can't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
You know, because like I don't want John and Colette to be all sketched out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Fair enough. I have no problem with that.
But, you know, me and you can certainly talk about the sessions. You know what I mean? And but we can't, you know, I don't want to drop their last names or anything like that. You know, like.
Oh yeah, no. Whenever, well, I know when I talk about games and stuff, I either use not the player name but the character name, or I'll just be like the elf dude, the guy playing the elf,
right?
Or like whatever. So, yeah, no, that's all cool.
Fucking Jawas, point their guns at me.
Yeah.
Still one of the funniest videos I ever saw in my life. Fuck.
Now I want to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, right? I might have to go back and rewatch it. Fuck. It's still up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't bother taking. I think the only videos I've ever taken down was just ones where like I try to live stream and it lets me live stream for like 30 seconds and then cuts off. So I got a 30-second fucking live stream of nothing there. So I delete it.
Yeah. Well, listen, Mav, I'm going to let you go. It's been good conversation, and what I got to do now is just finish up this NPC and look up some more rules and familiarize myself with this as much as I can before I go to bed. So, because I won't have time to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be in it.
Yeah, I'm going to do a few things here too, and including about some more detail, just about some more character stuff, and make some character notes.
Yep.
Backstory notes and character notes, and then just be excited waiting for tomorrow.
Sounds good, brother. We'll see you then. And anyone that did stick with this, if you're watching now or on the rewind, hopefully you're into RPGs. If you were, you probably liked this talk, and if you weren't, you probably fell asleep a long time ago.
Yeah.
We'll have more interesting topics on backwards compatible for sure, but you know, this is something that Maverick and I are passionate about, and I want to talk to him about it, so we did it.
Yes, we did.
All right, brother. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, talk to you tomorrow.